Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dychronic here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be showing you my top 10 favorite PvP specials in Destiny 2. And when I say specials, I mean special ammo weapons. So fusion rifles, shotgun, sniper rifle, stuff like this that use the green ammo. And this may seem silly that I'm saying this so specific and upfront, but I have had so many comments tell me that I'm an idiot because Recluse is not a primary and that it's a secondary. It's mind-blowing. Not only does secondaries not even exist in this game, it's an energy weapon, and it uses primary ammo. I can't believe how often it happens. And of course, this list is based on my own opinion of these weapons, completely subjective of my playstyle, how I use them, so your lists are definitely going to vary. Of course, let me know in the comments down below what are your lists and tell me the reasons why. How do they compare? If you have a different sniper rifle that you like best and you think should be best in class, let me know why. Compare the stats, compare the aim assistance, give me some really solid reasons, and I may change it in the upcoming version of this video. And if you haven't heard already, I actually have a giveaway going on right now for some free stuff like an Astro A40 headset, Blue microphone product, as well as a $20 gift code to Control Freaks. All you have to do is head in the description down below, find the giveaway link. Pretty straightforward. Follow Twitter, follow Twitch, and it's pretty awesome that I get to do these things monthly. Throughout this video, you'll be seeing a spreadsheet. Now, I created this spreadsheet for you guys to use in a beautiful dark theme, color-coded pictures, links, tips, notes, extra information, sources, and all the amazing stuff that you've come to enjoy and love from this, and it's all completely public and available for you to use online right now. All you have to do to get access to this is just head in the description down below to find my Discord server, and on my Discord server, there's going to be a channel called #YouTube Twitch, and around the video date that this came out on January 26th, you'll be able to find a link to the spreadsheet. On top of that, I make spreadsheets for almost everything from the PvP weapons, PvE weapons, armors, for the exotics, for every different class, supers, armor mods. I make them all in this beautiful style, so check them out on my Discord server. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this spreadsheet. Oh, I'm so excited. Every single week I get to say, hey, check out this thing. Isn't this freaking awesome? And it really does bring a smile to my face. And well, obviously I'm a huge nerd, but these spreadsheets are pretty dope. So in this section of the video, I kind of go over the spreadsheet in detail, talking about the general ideas of certain weapon types and archetypes within certain weapon types, and the idea of how the meta functions right now, instead of just showing you exactly what my top 10 are. But in case that's all you really care about, here's just a scroll down of exactly what the top 10. And for those of you who want just a 3-minute video, there you go. That's all you really care about. But for those of you who want a true fundamental understanding of the meta in PvP and why you use certain weapons and what scenarios, and why Aerentil, an 860 fusion rifle, is number 1, and Loaded Question, another 860, is number 9. And in this video, in the next probably 10 to 15 minutes, hopefully I'll be able to explain the reasons why I've placed everything where it is. So let's go ahead and start in reverse order. We're going to go through the weapon types that I find to be the worst and then make our way up to the best. So let's go ahead and start at the very bottom with the trace rifles. Now, in my opinion, trace rifles never really should have been moved over special weapons. I realize that they do a decent amount of total ammo damage, but there's, very infrequent scenarios that I find them very useful. The only useful one being Divinity, and that's only really useful in PvE. So in my opinion, not really worth the squeeze in the current meta, but the best one is definitely going to be Wave Splitter. Every once in a while can accidentally just do the high amount of damage and kind of crush people at some decent ranges. Next up, let's talk about the grenade launchers. I currently have 4 of these grenade launchers listed, one of them being Mountaintop, which I still think is going to be your best in-class option because of the fact that spike grenades, it just goes absolutely straight, so you don't have to worry about any amount of drop, and is very effective at doing what it needs to do, one-shotting in the Crucible. That being said, there are other weapons that do one-shot in the Crucible, and that's not the only option. I've also included the Martyr's Retribution, the new wave frame grenade launcher. It's basically like a thermite grenade in a grenade launcher. Definitely could be used in a lot of scenarios in which you could zone certain areas, put down like a thermite grenade in a certain path if you know there's an enemy around the corner. There's definitely uses, but I would say in general, when it comes to special weapons, it's not enough to make me want to use this as my special weapon with the limited ammo reserves that it has. And I feel like that goes the same with all of the other grenade launchers for the same reason. Moving on to the hand cannon section, we have Ariadna's Vow. Now, it's obviously the only hand cannon special in the game. Most people in the Crucible use a bit of a wombo combo where they use this with another hand cannon, where they bop somebody right in the body or the head with this weapon, switch weapons to their hand cannon as fast as they possibly can, perhaps with Mechaneer's Trick Sleeve, and then they kind of one-shot the enemy after that. So it's just a 1-2 combo, fire the and switch weapons, fire the other hand cannon, and a lot of times you can kill enemies quite quickly. But here's the thing, this wombo combo does not work in every scenario. When it comes to the items on this list, the weapon has to perform in a lot of different scenarios, and Ariadna's Vow doesn't really have flexibility. Kind of feels like the best way to use it is the only way to use it. Next up, let's talk about the linear fusion rifle, the Arbalest. You see this probably very frequently in the Crucible lately, everybody going for their Komodo ritual Crucible weapon. But honestly, outside of that, it kind of feels like a sub-sniper rifle. It does about sniper rifle damages, so you do have to get the headshot to get that kill, and you can do it at closer ranges because you have like a red dot sight, a bit more aim assistance if you're on console, but even then, I would often just want a sniper rifle instead, and the sniper rifle doesn't require charge up time. I would say the one advantage the Arbalest has is that it does in fact one-shot pretty much every super in the game. However, again, a lot of snipers do that too. It's just easier to do at closer range. Now that we've gotten through some of these smaller or lesser types of weapons, let's go and talk about the top three, the sniper rifles, shotguns, and fusion rifles. Now, the sniper rifle in my particular spreadsheet is going to be a bit contentious. I would say that a lot of people would put the Revoker as #1 as the best in class for sniper rifles, but I still believe to this day with the perk options, availability, aim assistance, that the 90 RPMs are still going to be your best bet. Now let's go ahead and take a look and see exactly what the strengths are of these three different main archetypes. First and foremost, you have the slowest fire rate, highest damage. You have the 72 RPM aggressive frames. Now, in my opinion, going for higher damage doesn't really matter if you take the same number of shots to body shot an enemy. That being said, they oftentimes have less ammo in their clips, they have less aim assistance, and they have a much higher kick level. Now, flipping over to the other side of the spectrum, we have the rapid fire 140 RPM sniper rifles. Now, in general, the 140 RPMs have better aim assistance, better clip size, better recoil control, and they also fire faster, obviously. The only downside being that they also do less damage. Now, that's not often that important in the Crucible, but when it comes to perhaps taking out supers, it does often find itself useful. Now, I would say the biggest issue when it comes to these 140 RPM sniper rifles is that the perk options are not always the best. Alone as a God has Snapshot but does not have a fourth perk or a mod slot option. Supremacy and Twilight Oath do not have the fabled Snapshot moving target, and Twilight Oath just doesn't have either one of them. Omniscient Eye came out with Shadowkeep from the Guard of Salvation raid and actually does have Snapshot plus No Distraction, a very, very powerful combo, and I would say somewhat of a disruption to the sniper rifle meta, but I wouldn't say that it's enough to overthrow that of the 90 RPM sniper rifles, because this is probably the worst aim assistance out of all of the 140 options, which puts it pretty much in line with that of the Beloved. So in my opinion, I'd rather do more damage so I can handle enemy supers more often. And finally, we come up on the 90 RPM adaptive frame sniper rifles, pretty much the middle of the pack for all of the stats that I've mentioned, middling amount of aim assistance, stability, recoil control, magazine size, damage, which is helpful for taking out enemy supers, and in my opinion, some of the best perk options out of all of these sniper rifles. In my opinion, pretty much the best combination that you can have on a sniper rifle is going to be Snapshot, moving target, with the shortest scope that you can possibly have. And on top of that, all of them are really easy to get more versions of them. My personal favorite is going to be Beloved for a lot of different reasons. Firstly, it has the highest aim assistance out of all of these sniper rifles, almost matching that of the Omniscient Eye, the rapid fire, which generally have better aim assistance. On top of that, it has a pretty insane amount of perks with Snapshot moving target or No Distractions moving target. And finally, it comes from the Menagerie. You can specifically have it drop every single time you play the Menagerie, specifically with range or stability masterwork, whichever one that you want, or handling, whatever you actually want, and you can get it so frequently, so easily, and it's the best of the best in my opinion. It's at this point that I'm realizing there's only 3 archetypes of sniper rifles. I thought that there was more, but I guess not. I'm sort of feeling like there should be a rapid fire exotic sniper rifle, Bungie. What happened here? Next up, let's talk about the shotguns. Probably the most options that are really, really effective in the Crucible, and probably the best class in the Crucible for weapons. Let's go ahead and get started with the highest fire rate and work our way down. First off, we have the Lord of Wolves, a very special 5 burst or 10 burst shotgun that has pretty decent ranges that used to dominate in the Crucible. It used to be unfair how fast you could kill people at some pretty unfair ranges. Obviously, they have nerfed it since then. They even gave us an emblem for those people who did use Lord of Wolves in Iron Banner during that particular event because it was just so rampant, which was really funny. But in general, it's still a very effective weapon. At number 8, it is probably the most most effective super takedown special in the game. The only downside is that you seem to use ammo on that thing really fast. Next up, we have the rapid fire frames. 3 specific ones, the Badlanders, Wishbringers, and One Small Step are all fantastic rapid fire shotguns in the Crucible. They all have some pretty good perk options like Slide Shot, Snapshot, Slide Shot, Snapshot, and Slide Shot Moving Target. All great options, and any formation of most of those perks options are going to be very good for you. And in general, I find the rapid fire frames, the faster fire rates in general, easier to use than that of the slower fire rates, more range, more skill kind of weapons. So if you're new to the Crucible and you like shotguns, I would go with the rapid fire frames. And if you're using rapid fire, you should definitely use some shotgun scavenger, because you're gonna need around 2 shots per enemy, and that's fine if you have at least 1 scavenger. Up next, we have the lightweight frame shotguns, kind of in a weird place right now. Unlike the sniper rifles, being in the middle is not a good thing. You know, it doesn't have enough range and damage for the slower fire rate shotgun users, and it doesn't have enough fire rate for the rapid fire frame shotgun users. So it doesn't really have the best of places. And in my opinion, it also just doesn't have the best of options. I would say Parcel of Stardust just has the better options out of all of those. Light Shot Moving Target, what can I say? Oh, hey, whoa, there's no comment here? I'll fix that right away. Next up, we have the Chaperone, kind of in a category of its own. It's a slug shotgun with some pretty high aim assistance, so if you get some practice with this thing, it can actually start to tear up some enemies, but it definitely takes some practice, and it's one of those weapons that deserves to be shown, you know, kind of number 11 in a secret way, but it's definitely not as good as some of the other shotgun options. Up next, we have the precision frame shotguns that used to be dominating in the Crucible, so much so more than any of the other archetypes or other types of weapon in the Crucible, but ever since a nerf from a few seasons ago where they brought in the one-shot capabilities of the shotguns, the ones with the most range got affected the most. Even then, the Dust Rock, Retold Tale are both having amazing perk options. They're very available, and I would highly recommend you use them. And if you like using them, you should use them. I don't think that if you use Dust Rock all the time, that Imperial Decree is just going to be the perfect alternative choice. They're still fantastic weapons. However, I would say that the aggressive frames these days have just been a little bit more consistent, because the aggressive frames have actually got most of their range from their damage, and the range was pulled in and the damage wasn't affected. It just feels that the Imperial Decree is more consistent at those longer ranges than the precision frames. And out of all of the aggressive frames, I would say the Imperial Decree is hands down your best option. Firstly, Last Man Standing and Python, they both have some pretty crap perk options. But secondly, the most contentious part of it is, why isn't Mindbender's Ambition included? First of all, Mindbender's Ambition is hard to get. Hollowed Lair, Nightfall, you have to grind out that Nightfall, you have to grind out that boss kill. Every 10 times you kill that boss, you'll get one to drop, and then you also have to get it, have a range masterwork, you have to have it with these particular first 2 perks, you have to have it with Slide Shot, Quick Draw, or Slide Shot Moving Target. There's so many things you have to have happen perfectly in order to get exactly what you want. Or you could do Imperial Decree, where you can guarantee it drops every Menagerie drop, you can guarantee that it's a range masterwork every single time, and it also, in my opinion, has more options that are better. Now here's the bottom line when it comes to these 2 weapons. Mindbender's Ambition is a lot harder to get than Imperial Decree, and the difference is pretty minimal. If you look at Mindbender's Ambition and you compare it to that of the Imperial Decree, you can see that has a little bit better of a reload speed and a little bit better aim assistance, but the recoil is a bit harder to control. And in my opinion, that doesn't really matter to me. The fact that I can get an Imperial Decree so much easier than Mindbender's Ambition makes Imperial Decree the standout winner. That being said, if you have a good Mindbender's Ambition roll, I guess you can use that too. And lastly, we have the fusion rifle. It's kind of in a weird place right now, not dominated by a lot of top slots, but I have to say, when I talk about the Air Intel, I feel like you'll be convinced by how amazing the weapon is. But before I get into those specifically, let's talk about fusion rifles in general. And when it comes to fusion rifles, I don't care about a faster charge rate. If I can have it for free, I will take it. But it doesn't really matter that much, because when it comes to the rapid fire frames and even that of the adaptive frames, having a faster fire rate means you're closer range to the enemy. In those circumstances, I'd rather just have a shotgun. And on top of that, you can also just, have a high impact frame and just use backup plans, which means you'll fire even faster than the fastest charge rate of the rapid fire frames. So you can get the fastest fire rate and you can get the highest range, highest damage. Why wouldn't you? So in general, rapid fire adaptive and precision frames are not just worth very much at all. That being said, that's just my opinion. You could be using them differently than I do. When it comes to the high impact frames, a lot of the other options do not really have the best perk options. They don't have the best availability, and in the case of these exotics, they're obviously different than that of the other ones. When it comes to loaded question, it is definitely a good weapon, definitely a top 10 weapon, but if you have a very well-built Erentil, the stats and the damage output are gonna be better than that of the loaded question, and on top of the fact that loaded question is a ritual weapon that takes quite some time to get. And when it comes to Erentil and the Wizen Rebuke being much harder to get because it is part of Iron Banner, but still has some pretty good perk options, Erentil, in my opinion, wins out because it is easier to get, it is having the best archetype out of all of the fusion rifles, and with everything in consideration, I find that the Erentil is going to be your best top dog no matter what for a lot of different reasons. First of all, it has some pretty insane amounts of ranges, it has nearly maxed out impact, it has an incredible set of perk options, and you have a lot of perk options that will do very, very well. And did I mention that it can drop from the world drops, the gunsmith, the menagerie? If you've watched some of my top 10, top 5 videos, you know that I have an absolute hard-on when it comes to menagerie, because you can have this thing specifically drop in menagerie, specifically drop with a ranged masterwork, and like I said before, it has some pretty insane different options for it. Now, if you take a look at my Erentil that I have in my bank, I have a range-based sight, I have a ranged masterwork, I have a projection fuse that increases the range, you have moving target, which is something nice to have, not the best, and then finally you have high impact reserve. So you have a nearly 90 range, you have a nearly maxed out impact. This thing kind of crushes at way too long of ranges. I've been killed by Erentils at like 10, 15 plus meters. I am not kidding when I say that. 10, 15 plus meters. It is ridiculous how often I get one shot by this thing at insane ranges, and that is why, in my opinion, it is the best special in the game. Now, obviously, if you get better with sniper rifles, those are gonna be the best option for you. If you're very skilled with shotguns, they can kill faster than that of fusion rifles, but fusion rifles are easy to use. This thing is easy to get, and it is easy to get a great roll for it. It's number one, the best of the best. Outside of that, the only thing I haven't talked about is going to be the Bastion. The Bastion is a weird weapon right now. It's the only kinetic fusion rifle, and it acts more like an automatic burst shotgun. You charge it up, it fires a burst of 3 shots that all have spread pellet slugs that actually do pretty high damage. I've killed a lot of people in one shot of that burst, for basically no reason at all. So in my opinion, the Bastion, very similarly to that of the Lord of Wolves, are going to be your super slayer. If you see an enemy with a super, you hit them with one burst of this thing. No matter what super they have, it's going to kill them. And that is very powerful, on top of the fact that it's kind of fun to use, and if you're getting the drop on some enemies, they're gonna be upset because this thing kind of destroys. But that's it. That's gonna be the end of the spreadsheet for you guys today. Again, make sure you check out the spreadsheet on my Discord server. It is a fully public spreadsheets that have more than I've shown off today, like all of the different catalysts that are available, all of my recommendations for masterworks and best mods, all the perk recommendations, my nodes, legends and general nodes and masterwork, all of the stuff that you possibly want, including all the sources. I'm a responsible adult. I have sources. It's all here. So if you wanted to get access, it is totally public, it is totally free. Use it. I want you to use this thing because I love the fact that this is so good. Clearly, very biased thing to say, but it really is good. It's insane. Where else could you get this much in a single spreadsheet? But anyways, that's going to be pretty much it. That's going to be the end of the video. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions, concerns, tips, tricks, if you had any counters to some of the points that I've been making. Be sure to be as verbose as you can to tell me the reasons why each thing is the way it is, because the next iteration of this spreadsheet is going to need that kind of help. Of course, I've been your host, Dychronic, and I will see you guys on the next one.